All right. Hello. Good day. Today, I want to be talking to you about the beauty of nuclear energy. Not just nuclear energy, but just a little bit energy in general. So, nuclear energy is the cleanest, most powerful way to make energy by far. The nuclear reactor pictured here on the side right is one of the the way it works is you have essentially fuel rods that get lowered into here, and then you create a fission reaction which produces steam. Visually, it's quite stunning, I think. The simplicity of splitting the atom, even though it's difficult to do, like the simplicity of the concept behind it, I think is pretty beautiful as well. And it's the only futuristic energy source. Like nothing can really rival it. It's the only thing that's infinitely scalable, you know. So why nuclear is unmatched? It's more scalable than any power source, more powerful than hydro, more powerful than solar and wind, over 1 billion times more efficient than fossil fuels, more powerful than fossil fuels, more powerful than geothermal, and is the only future-proof way to reliably get energy. The future of humanity is the future of humanity is tied to becoming a Type 1 civilization on the Kardashev scale. And we'll never get there without it, pretty much. So, oh, so back to energy. So, you got hydropower, you got wind, you got solar, you got fossil fuels, you got nuclear, you got geothermal. Those are your options. And pretty much, hydro is water, fossil fuels is gas, nuclear steam, geothermal steam. But fossil fuels there's also a lot of water that becomes steam there. Most energy is turbine or steam based. So hydro, easy to build, it's safe. With easy to build, I mean the construction materials required to build something like a hydropower plant. It's pretty cheap. Obviously, it costs a lot of money to get it built because you need a lot of it, but it's fairly cheap because you don't really need any advanced materials. You just need some good engineering. And it's safe in the sense that how many dams, have had a disaster in the last, I don't know how many years. Probably none. Um, so, essentially, hydro is also very good for the environment because there's no, other than the construction of the hydro plant itself, there's really no emissions for running or operating the plant. And generally, they're quite long lived. So, hydropower is limited in use due to requirements like rivers in space. So, you need like a gorge a little bit like this, and you need a river. You can't really put them everywhere. They're fairly scalable due to multiple turbines being installed. Forget about this one. That's actually a mistake. I thought they were fairly expensive to run and operate, but turns out they're actually really cheap. So, built upon reliable, proven techniques. Well, people have been using water and the power of water for eons now. So, again, it is just spinning turbines, which is like water wheels are ancient, and it's pretty much a similar technique. Besides major accidents, generally safe. So, name one. There isn't really one. Dams do crack or break sometimes, but I believe almost no hydropower dams have ever really, faulted, because they'll just dump water way before they get to any point where it's dangerous. Because there's valves in there, you can have it run through turbines, or you can actually just physically start dumping water. So, wind and solar, they're cheap, they're clean. They're not really scalable though. These, what are they called? They use the mirrors, and then they heat up sand, and then salt, and then the hot salt is stored, and then um, I don't know if they use it to make steam or not, but I'm pretty sure they do some way. Let's ask our good friend Google. How does solar salt plants work? Concentrated solar power is what it's actually called. Okay, cool. Yeah, and so they use the mirrors to do the sunlight in a receiver. Oh, they actually just use a steam turbine. Wow. So they don't just use a steam turbine. They use a steam turbine. Full stop. That's funny. That's really funny. It's all just salt. It's all just salt in the end. Or steam. That's so funny. So even this is steam. So really, all energy is steam almost. It's all steam and turbines in the end. Wind and solar. Oh look, another. Oh man, it's turbine powered. Oh man, that is so bad. Yeah, get humans. All energy that's not nuclear. No way, even nuclear is steam and turbines. God damn. Oh, that's great. Lovely. There you go. Humans aren't as smart as we think we are because it's all just turbines in the end. Um, so wind and solar is cheap to build and install. Windmills cost nothing. It's just a little bit to steal some copper. Really nothing to it. Solar panels, they're a little bit more interesting because you do need some rare earth elements to make them. Although, rare earth elements doesn't really say much because nothing is really rare nowadays no more. Like you pretty much get everything. Main issue with it though, especially wind and solar, is it doesn't make very much power. It is not really scalable for intensive power requirements. Like if you look at this field with solar panels on the picture on the bottom right, if you quadrupled that field, right, and let's say you would have a nuclear power plant there of equivalent size, you could make like 1 billion times more power. That's an actual number. That's nuclear power reactors are crazy. People are scared of the big ones, but nah, fuck it, bro. Go big or go home. Let's get that juice. So they can't really meet high power demands like fossil fuel, nuclear, hydro, or geothermal, for sure. Being popularized by media due to being good for the environment, but goods in air quotes, because obviously, how good is it really? Because those solar panels, you'd need to change that field, renew the panels every 20, 30 years. I don't know, bro. Not really that good. It's gonna end up on the trash heap. Whereas the nuclear power station will be there for 100 years, and then even after the building's probably still good, and you could reuse it for something else, or just retool it as a nuclear power station and keep the juice going. A common misconception as well is that solar is greener than geothermal or hydro because the mining required for the materials to make the panels is worse, which is true. Like the mining that you need to do for the solar panels is far worse than geothermal or hydro, and I'd argue it's even worse than windmills. Windmills are not that bad. It's just that you need wind to be going, so in that sense, it's not really that reliable. And the same with solar because it only works during the day, and battery power is still a little bit lackluster in my opinion. Although I'm interested in what those polymer ion batteries are going to be about. Geothermal energy generally easy to build if you have the requirements necessary. So like natural geysers or hot springs, or an area that's volcanically active, so you can drill a hole very close to the surface and pump some water in, so you can get some steam out of there. Considered safe by the general population just because there's no CO2 emissions, there's no big accidents that's going to be happening, and it's essentially steam power. So it's just fossil fuels without the fuels, essentially. Then fossil fuels, they're dirty, they're very reliable, they're scalable. They're energy inefficient in the sense that most fossil fuel that's used is used in transport, and a lot of the energy that's wasted in that is in waste heat that's not being used. The same actually goes for coal and fuels to a certain extent. With gases, natural gas, I believe less so because the gases are actually used to power a turbine directly. With fuels, I believe they burn various fuel sources in energy power plants. I think probably some common will probably be things like diesel or kerosene or whatever. Um, and sometimes they use them to power turbines. Sometimes they use them to power boilers that power turbines. So it's steam again. But generally, a power plant is infinitely more efficient in regards to fossil fuels than, let's say, a engine in a car. And that's just because you have way more space. So usefulness versus dependency. Well, you do need fuel for a shit ton of stuff. For instance, coal. Coal is the most used, cheapest source of energy as of 2024. It is the most widespread form of generating current. So you burn coal, then the coal that you burn, you use it to make steam, and then you use the steam in a turbine to power the turbines, get energy. So coal is becoming cleaner, but it's still one of the dirtiest. Like you do have particulate filters, carbon capture technology, all that juice, but I don't know. I don't know if it's any good. But it's becoming better, so at least that's good. Mainly people assume it's due to CO2, but it's more due to things like sulfur and mercury and other heavy metal particulates in the coal. That gets out when it's being mined and when it's being burned and transport and all that. You're spreading around all that carcinogenic heavy metal particulate, which is worse than fossil fuel. So fuels, generally, when you get a barrel of crude oil from the ground, about 47% of it is used to make gasoline. About 23% of it is used to make diesel fuel and heating oil. About 18% is used for other products, probably things like plastics and pharmaceuticals and that kind of thing. About 10% is jet fuel. About 4% is liquefied petroleum, and about 3% is asphalt. So, fossil fuels, depending on the type that you use, have various advantages and disadvantages, but all of them have proven like highly reliable and extremely scalable, and especially in a on-demand world, where power needs to be on demand all the time. It's one of the better ways to go, almost, it would seem. But it's really not the king. So nuclear power is cheap, it's powerful, it's the only technologically advanced energy, it's reliable, it's scalable, it's both the coolest and hottest at the same time, and it's by miles the cleanest. It's cheap in the sense that a nuclear power plant can run for easily 100 years. They're powerful. Like you cannot imagine how much more powerful they are than any other form, simply due to the huge amounts of steam you can get with these bad boys, and the huge turbines you can use to power them, which is like if most big cities in the world would switch to nuclear energy, right? You fix all the environmental problems in like less than 10, 20 years. And then you would probably still have a ton of power to spare, where if you actually invest in proper power lines and that kind of thing, like boom, like pretty much free energy done right there. So reliability, nuclear power plants, like other than 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl, which were legitimate reactor faults. For instance, Fukushima, yeah, nuclear disaster, but it was a natural disaster first. Like a tsunami hit, and then the tsunami, caused a lot of the things, like the safety features to not be able to be operable anymore. And it's on the Japanese for fucking that one up, because they should have been smart enough to put the power plant way higher up, or further inland or higher or whatever, so it would be more tsunami proof. Or I don't know if the other side has less or more tsunamis, but I'd imagine less bad tsunamis. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's on them to should have put it in a better location. Whereas the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl was actually a flaw in the reactor design. However, Soviet-style reactors aren't really used in the West, and anyone that wants to build modern nuclear power plants is thinking about using advanced Western designs, which are way more efficient and much, much safer than old Soviet designs. Like the Soviet technology maybe was interesting back during the days of the Soviet, but it's certainly gotten out of fashion now, simply due to being lackluster in terms of things that it can do. Three Mile Island was an American incident, but like it wasn't really anything major. Just some what was it? I believe some radioactive gas or something got out of the reactor building. But again, it hasn't really happened since, and it will never happen again. Just because we've gotten a lot smarter to go about how to build and operate and maintain these things. And we've operated them for a long time, so the technology is very thoroughly developed. So yeah. Also, the nuclear reactor core, in my opinion, is like one of the most beautiful looking ways of making energy. You should probably not go into a nuclear reactor and look at it. Although I'm not a nuclear scientist myself, but maybe you could. Then do it if you got the balls to do it. It's supposed to look really cool. So what they do is they got these reactor rods. They insert different types of nuclear fuel, and then you get a fission reaction where it starts splitting the atoms and heating up all the metal. And this metal, because it's getting so super hot, you need all that water to cool it down, and then the water becomes really hot, and then the water becomes steam, and you use the steam to power turbines. But it's beautiful, in my opinion. That bluish light glow, there's a YouTube video that was online of a reactor starting up that's actually really nice. Highly recommend looking at one of them. So in order to prove I'm not a moron, well, kind of I am, but still, largely I think I've tried to keep it really real in regards to the things I've said on this video. So I've got links. I don't know if I should have done that to begin with, but better late than never. So I highly recommend anyone who's interested in energy to visit the website of the U.S. Department of Energy. Link in description. They they know a lot about what they're doing. Obviously, yeah, because they're sort of responsible, I think, for collecting all the energy data and all that, and managing a little bit. They also mention on their website that nuclear energy really is the most reliable source of green energy. Like, even they admit it, because you have to. Wikipedia. I don't really think I need to put a link for Wikipedia down, but I can. I think it's Wikipedia/nuclear. Pretty much all the smart people in science that know anything about energy would agree, probably, that nuclear is a really good way to go. I'm not against the hydro or geothermal or wind and solar myself, but I think the value of those need to be reevaluated in favor of nuclear, because it's just a much more cost-efficient solution to a long-term problem. And if we fix it now, it will save us a really big headache later down the energy pipeline. And Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk is one of the only people who is a public spokesperson for nuclear energy, but it's because he's a smart person as well, so he understands the ever-growing need of energy, the ever-growing demand of energy, and in order for humanity to advance as a civilization at all, you'll always end up consuming more energy than previous generations, and you'll always figure out ways to make more energy than previous generations. And you really won't figure that out if you don't do the science behind nuclear. That's also how you're going to get other interesting advancements in other technologies, like, let's say, space travel. Because everyone's shying away from nuclear space engines, but they would probably work just like they do on a submarine. So yeah. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and as always, have a nice day. Alright, bye-bye.